Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say SJ.
Somebody
left-
was calling me.
Yes, ma'am. You left the other night and I was really hoping to hear about that trade that you made last week, but then I understand that you had another good one. And so at some point I was hoping maybe you could talk about those, why you took them, what you did, et cetera, where, just take us through your successful trades, SJ.
Yeah, I can absolutely do that. I don't know if y'all want to do that. Y'all want me to do that tonight on this recording or?
Yeah, no, go ahead. If you want to go on it. Yeah, I mean,
Well,
doubt
I
it'll
don't know
take
what
forever.
trades, I don't know what trades they were. So that would help to know, I guess what day and what time, or at least what day.
So I think it was maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. I think you had mentioned it in a recording here, and you had just set it up and it was a late night type of trade, I believe.
So was it futures?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, yeah, futures, yeah.
It was.
Oh, I
futures.
think I remember which one it was. So it was
I don't. I'm not recalling.
actually, I
this
don't
off,
remember
but
which one. I remember talking about a couple of them, but
yeah.
there was the one where I stopped out because we kept hitting the old. I remember, and we were chatting about it, or we messaged about it, and that's when it pushed up through. Yeah, I don't remember which day that was. It's going to be a bitch to find.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was, I don't know if there was the ones off of this hourly supply up here. That was going back to last Wednesday. Well, yeah, Wednesday, right, was FOMC. I think that previous trade would have been right. It had to be right here. What's that? That's, yeah, it's 5 a.m. on Tuesday. That had to be what the trade was, where you went long. And it, because I remember I was looking to go short here.
Yeah, I think you guys were kind of opposite, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was saying I tried short because we were coming up to the 200-day as well as the hourly supply. Although I think we had rejected there previously, so I don't know if that's right.
So
Or was it
last week
here,
is
maybe?
when I made like $300 or $400 on futures. It was one night where I made a couple of $100. And I think that's what it was. You and I were in opposite trades.
Yeah, we had been. I mean, I think what I was taking the short, and then I had to leave my house or whatever. So that stopped out and it pushed up. But in real time, I mean, it was stalling and stalling and stalling, and then it and then we changed. I don't know if that doesn't sound right, because I think it turned to 7 o'clock Eastern time. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it, but
I'm not sure if it was morning or night.
No, it was morning when we were talking. Well, the one I'm talking about was definitely morning. So
Okay.
but that doesn't mean it's not. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know unless you know what date or time it was. If you don't remember the trade, but
No.
it's all right. All right. Well, let's talk about. I mean, what?
Let's talk about what me and DJ were talking about. Can we talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. You guys want to touch on that? Go for it, and then I can
Absolutely.
hop in.
So it was on SPX today, and it had dropped, and all of the signs pointed to it continuing to go down, and it went up. And I didn't take the I didn't stop out because I was like, it's got to go down. That's what my head kept telling me. I did wind up getting out of it, but it took practically all of my profits except for like $26. And
What
then
time
I
was it?
done.
Was it this here?
Yes.
It was right here.
It was
So
from the morning. Yeah.
It was like
right there.
10:30, right?
Right. It closed
Yeah.
inside of the zone. I mean, I had everything, all of my rules there, like everything was there, and it went backwards on me.
Yeah. Now, you say it
So-
closed inside of the zone. What you talking about?
So I
This
have an
daily zone?
hourly zone. I have an hourly zone there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I deleted some of this shit, so I need to. Yeah, I don't see. The only thing I had here was this, which is the old. I thought we talked about this on
That
on the Spaces.
3952 OG.
Yeah, well, 39.53 or whatever. Yeah, that's where we bounced. That's when I was done, right? So we bounced off of this and fucking I cut off my positions. I don't know, somewhere at right after 2 o'clock, and then that's when I had to bounce. So, or it was right before 2 o'clock, I guess. I don't know. I remember saying I got to go. She had a call. No, it was right after 2 because I think her call started at like 2:30. My wife's phone call, so I had to go watch the kid, and it worked out because we hit the zone. I even said, I was like, be careful. I mean, I didn't know for sure. I didn't buy calls and play it off at all. I just I stopped, I got out of I cut all the positions I was in. Any of the runners were they stopped out in the green. It was a good trade. This drop was great, but let me try to find this. So this would be the only level that I had here, right? As far as the hourly goes.
Right.
Do we have
So maybe it was a
15-minute
SPY level.
There's a 15-minute zone here. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely zones here, but well, I mean, shouldn't SPY, well, I don't know. Are you charting SPY? They don't have the overnights, right? Or are you using TradingView?
I use SPY. I trade, not trade, I chart SPY and SPX Alanda.
Yeah, but I mean, SPY, are you doing it on TradingView?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, you probably don't have the overnight data. So yeah, it might be different. We can take a look at it. Let me just put this up.
Was there any news that occurred?
No, it was just that, I mean, look, I mean, this is the thing to keep in mind. We had this big daily level here. This was coming back down to retest it. It's not surprising that the first time we get down here and touch it, you know what I mean? It bounced. I mean, we don't know where exactly it's going to bounce, but yeah,
It's
he
a
said
15-minute
it's on
zone for
it's
me.
on a 5-minute chart. You posted a picture of it earlier today. Why? So I posted that. Yeah, I posted that after at 2 o'clock, right? So talking about zone to zone, yeah, that's what we're looking at here, DJ. It was this bounce right here. But on the 5-minute, there's not really a zone. I mean, there's plenty of zones there. There's a 15-minute zone, but the 5-minute zone, the 5-minute gets choppy. You see this over here, you guys, or DJ, if you can see this, are you able to see what I'm talking about, or are you just listening? That way I can know whether whether it makes sense.
No,
or not.
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure. But yeah, so there are 5-minute zones in here, right? But look at how many, like it's very choppy. Like you gotta, like, I don't know, that you'd have like one here. I did mark this one out just because it kind of stood out, but it's also at the bottom of the zone, of the white zone. So you would have that, and then like this, and then you'd have this one, I guess, and this here. But I mean, that's the thing. Like I see that's super choppy, right? Like this is really difficult to say. Like you can say there's a bunch of zones here, but where's it going to stop? So yeah, jumping up to the 15-minute works for sure. That's got to be, that's what stands out to me, SJ. Is
Yeah,
a
mine was
15-minute.
a 15-minute zone.
Yeah, well, that's what I just put in here in purple. So like but I mean, look at this here though. You guys got to look at this too. Not besides the daily level, right? Like, cause that's a big deal. But the other thing is that when we pushed up here, we were ripping up. This was what, last Friday. This was our hourly supply, right? Or one of them. Obviously, you got supply up here too. But this was our hourly supply. So this dotted blue line here, that represents the resistance that we blasted through. And this is the first time we came back and retested it. And when we closed that hour above here, it made sense that we were going to rally up. Now, you see it though? Can you kind of see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
At the time, right, we would have just this candle here. So we could actually go and do a replay. So if you look at this here, right, that's what this looks like. Prices here trying to go up. At the time, right, we would have, this would be blue. And this would be solid, I guess. Well, definitely solid. And that would be our hourly supply that we're going to come into. And then obviously up here, we have the hourly supply that we know we rejected up here. But this is, this is an hourly supply as well. So once we start moving, right, see how we tested it? And then we drop down to here, but then we close the hour here, and then boom, this was the tricky part. This is what got me that day. Because this was Friday. fucking, it didn't make sense necessarily. Because look, we closed right at it and then we pulled back. I mean, it made sense, right? And boom, we smashed up through. So oops, we're skipping forward. Anyway, so you see my point is that like we hadn't, after we pushed up, we had this big move up, we had not come down to retest it yet. So that's definitely key, even if you don't have the daily zone here. That stands out. So the thing is, you know, what I tend to do is I delete that, right? And then whatever the resistance or the support, if you're talking about demand is, you know, I make it a dotted line, and that way I know it's there, it's a level to watch. This was a great move though, even on Friday, and I missed it. It didn't click enough because we closed inside of the supply zone, but again, it wasn't a bearish close. It's not like we tested it and closed underneath like we did this last hour. And all we did is we came right back down pretty much to the bottom of that zone at the time. Remember, I just deleted that blue line. And that was the low, that was the dip buy, and it fucking rocketed off. So, but anyways, to jump back to where we're at today, right? What happened today as we came down? So we can do it like this too. As we were coming down, right? Let's see, what time is that? That is at, fuck, it's 7. So, what time is that? That is at 8. We need one more candle. Oops, what did I just do? Damn it. We need one more candle. Right, so that's the 9 o'clock candle, right? So that's our 9 a.m. Like, so basically we opened at 9:30, right? We got pushed down, we closed here at 10 o'clock. So then we should have, so that's our 11, that's our 10 o'clock candle, okay? 10 a.m. candle. And that's the first test here. So that's at 10 o'clock. And then obviously right at 10:30 is when we got the low there. But when you're watching this in real time, you got to remember that this is the first time we retested this old resistance is now going to, you know, potentially act as support. So when we did that, obviously it plays out, you know, we got the push up, and then, you know, obviously it came back down. So that's where you got caught off guard, I take it, right? It was right in here. That's what your DJ you're posting there. When I posted those circles, that was the red circle, obviously. I didn't post the red circle. It's
yeah, the red circle was where I entered.
right. Yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing you put it, or you guys talking about it afterwards. The yeah, I mean, and look, to enter puts here, it's just I mean, look, dude, you know what it is? It really is psychological, because two things, right? One is we've already had this big move down, and then you're jumping into puts, right? So even if there was no, I mean, two things, there's definitely zones here, right? There's the retest of this, and then exactly what SJ was saying, and that I was charting there for a minute, right? If you go to the 15-minute, you know, this is definitely a zone here. And let's say you didn't have, you know, let's say coming into this, right? If you were looking, you know, if you're looking for zones, the 5 minutes super choppy. So definitely jump up, you know, a time frame at that point, go to the 15-minute, and we would have had a zone here too as well. So we would have had this zone as a 15-minute. Right, and then we can talk about what that did. So you see what that did here? Let's go back to this replay again. So as you're coming in, well, this wouldn't even be the right time, right? Time is that 6:30. So let's jump ahead a little bit. Time is that? That's 8:15. So 8:30, 9:15, and 9:30, right? No, 9:15. So yeah, we opened just after this candle. So here's the thing, if we were looking at this in the morning, right? You already have a 15-minute zone here. You can tell that this zone is valid because we dipped down here again, wicked right back up, right? We didn't quite touch it here, but we got close. And then of course here this morning, right at 6:45, we almost touched it for, you know, pretty much a test of this, bounced up, went back up. You know, obviously the zone is interacting here at this point. We rejected nicely off of it, and we held again. So my point is that, like, you want to watch, you know, if you had this zone here, you would then put this one down here, right? This zone below. Hopefully you guys can see that. So that would be the zone that we'd stand out. I mean, to not go, I mean, I'm trying to kind of explain the zones as we go about this too. That way it's not, we're kind of kill two birds with one stone. But to your point, man, or to your situation, the biggest issue, right, would be, in my opinion, just grabbing the puts. So the entry on the puts, let's talk about that, because basically you waited for the move to happen and then you grab puts, which is common, dude. And a lot of us, I still do it, right? There's times where I'm like, hey, we're gonna break here and go, and most of the time that's when I get burnt and stopped out. So it's because the bottom line is you want the best risk to reward, and in order to do that, if you're gonna try to short it, right, if you're trying to go to the downside by puts, you want a pop in price, you know, to enter at a highest point, so that you maximize the move to the downside. So let's see here. So that was 9, that's the 930 candle, right? That was our big dip. We came back up and we closed above. And you're starting to see now how like price pressure is coming down, but we do come back up, right? So this is a 930 candle, but that right there is at this level at 944 Eastern time, right? So then here, that's at, you know, this is coming up to the 10 o'clock close. And again, we've had another 15-minute candle close inside of this demand, right? So now we see this, right? Oop, bounce up. So that's at 10 o'clock. So that closes at 10:15. So this was your entry to the short. And that's when we got short. When Phil and I were talking about it, getting short. We got short off of this zone up here. I think I was in calls and then we grabbed some puts. And I don't know if he had grabbed calls with me or not. I think I don't know. I know we talked about getting off the 39.80. Those were definitely, that was the move. So that's your short entry on it. So does that make sense? Like, because this is your best risk to reward, right? If you're gonna put, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know, I kind of forgot about doing 15-minute. I was so focused on, you know, trying to do the 5-minute demand and supply zones that maybe I need to start plugging in those 15s and working off of them. Like you're saying, the 5 minutes get kind of clustered.
Well, you gotta look at it and just determine it. I mean, there are times where the 5-minute makes sense, right? But like this on the 5-minute, I mean, you're looking back here. I mean, this is just, I mean, there's, you know, there's zones here, but I mean, it's like every one, right? Like this one, you know, yeah, it's kind of encompassed, but and then you get these little fucking things, right? So like, and that's not useful to us, right? Like if I look at this whole little bit here, I mean, I can find zones on this, but really it's like where, you know, which one's going to matter, right? Like which one's going to count, because you really don't know. And at that point you have to start, you know, you might as well just say, hey, I'm going to look for this 39.53, you know, but you know that it's going to chop around in between that. So I guess that's the thing. When you see something like this, where there's just, I mean, there's a 5-minute zone here. Where's the wick come down to? Well, it doesn't quite come down to this body, but that one's inside this, but that wick comes down to this, but that wick's in this one. You know what I mean? Like when I can just jump back like that, it's super fucking annoying. I mean, if these are hourly candles, we can, you know, in big gaps in price, you can try to figure it out. But even then, it's better to go to the 4-hour or the daily, right? Just move up. So it's not that, don't ignore the 5-minute zones, because they do matter, right? Like when we, like, let's say, what we got here? So like this guy here, right? Like if you're looking up here at the top, like this is a 5-minute supply zone. This will probably make a difference, right? Just to know that it's here. So like if you mark this out, you can say like, hey, that's on the top. I don't necessarily need a 15-minute zone there. You know, sometimes the 15-minute zones get big. So you see how that's interacted multiple times, right? Like this is touched and rejected here. We got close to it here, of course, but we also rejected here. Now we also, I mean, there's an hourly level here that, you know, there's supply up here, period. But the hourly, you know, we can get a signal on the hourly chart, but now we can say, hey, we can get a signal on the 5-minute chart. You know, you want to go as low as you can without losing sight of the signal, I guess, right? And this to me, and this just comes from experience, but this is really hard to see the signal. And it's because we popped up, we went down, we popped up, we went down. This was Friday, right? Friday was a fucking, you know, it was a beautiful trend up, but it was, I mean, these are 5-minute candles. I mean, this is like we popped up, and I mean, it was just very, you know, it was a step action, stair step on the way up. So, so yeah, anyways, just keep that in mind. I mean, dude, it's not, honestly, the biggest thing here, dude, is that you're most likely you're oversizing, right, for the position and not stopping out in time. And I know that, like, and I totally get, like, I truly do, that like when you're on a cash account, you only, like, once you stop out, that's it, right? Like you're not going to get the cash till the next day. And I mean, that is the only time that I see that. Oh, that moved. I don't know why that moved. You know, the thing is that it's still good practice to get into, because if it gets to the point where the trade has gone against you, you've changed completely from doing something like this, which is like a risk to reward. Like, hey, I understand that, like, if this thing pops up, you know, at this point, I'm going to give it, you know, probably to like here or something. You know, this is what I'm looking for. You know, instead of a 3 to 4 to 1, you're basically just saying, hey, I hope, right, if you bought it down here, I hope that this goes up and bounces here and reverses. And it's a psychological mind fuck. And that's why, like, even though it sucks and being like, all right, I have to stop out and I'm done for the day, it's crucial and it's really difficult. And it's something that I still have struggled with. You know, this last month, dude, my cash accounts have been, I mean, they're, you know, if I wasn't able to refill them, they'd be fucked up, you know, because there were a couple times where I was in stuff, had a nice move on it, you know, thought it was going to get more, it gave it back. It's, you know, just little fucking things that I can do in my margin account. But the way that the market has been, it's been very, I don't, you know, it's choppy, but it's been harder to read. This past week and the week, you know, really, like, I don't know, the last fucking month up to like the week before last, was tough. You know, I had just a bunch of shit that just wasn't on. I mean, there were days that were great, but there's a lot of choppiness too. You know, there's a lot of just fucking back and forth. So that's a common thing, but you got to be able to stop out to preserve capital, right? Because at the end of the day, all these rules aside, no matter how much we can talk about zones and like strategy, at the end of the day, if you burn your cash out, you're out of the game, right? So like, you got to preserve capital at all costs. Even if it means like, hey, I'm done for the day, I'm coming back tomorrow. You know, and maybe there's a better broker. I mean, it's possible, although I would say that I don't know. I guess the Webull thing is interesting. I know you talked about it before, but even if you have your cash available, you still got to get in the habit of you know, of tagging out before the loss gets big. So I mean, that's just something to take practice on, man. When you cash trade, when you paper trade, right? Do you like, how do you manage that? Like, how does that, like, do you stop out quickly or do you tend to let it ride? I mean, what like, what do you experience
Just
with that?
depends, really, honestly. So with Thinkorswim, you can do a stop. With Webull paper trading, you can't do a stop. So it's more or less kind of just a mental at that point. When I feel like I should get out, I just say, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. So do you use the levels to do that, or do you just look at the chart? I mean, are you looking at
No,
your
I use the
profits?
levels. Yeah, the levels. Yeah, I try to trade within the levels or the supply and demand zones when they're there, or, you know, exiting a trade when it's getting close to the zone.
Yeah.
So I try to get out before it gets there, obviously, but
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, that's good. And SJ, if you have something you want to add to this, go for it. Because I know you were talking with him too. So, I mean, anybody can add to this, but yeah, I think the biggest mistake, dude, is that, I mean, honestly, the main mistake, and let's go to the time where the trade was at, because I know we're not quite there yet. So let's see, what's that? That's 10:15. That closes right at 10:30. Huh, maybe we did miss it. Was it at 10 o'clock? No, it was right here, right? Yeah. So it was really at yeah, it was at 10:30, but 10:30 to 10:45. So this right here is where you get faked out, I think, right? There's that. Or was it 11 o'clock? Yeah, so you entered right here between 10:45 and 11 o'clock. And that's, I mean, if you didn't have, you know, even if you didn't have this, if you didn't realize there was a zone here, if you're just looking at the 5-minute, you gotta keep in mind that, like, you know, price action pushed up, you know, after cash open, we pushed up we rejected, one of the main zones, right? And we got a big move down. I mean, we got a, what is that? Almost it's a 15. I mean, if you go down to here, it's almost a 20-point move on SPX. So that's huge, that's big, right? So like we already had this big push down. So that's probably the number one thing to watch for, is that, you don't want to, and here's the tough thing. The psychological battle, bro, is that you're using your own cash. It's limited, right? It's different, it's new. And the reality is you probably know inside that, hey, if I want to short it, I really wanted to enter up here at 39.80. But the thing is, you don't want to just jump in here. Because what happens is that what in your mind, you don't want to stop out, right? But this is the best place to enter, because if trade starts to move north and we get up to like 39.83, then it's an easy spot to stop out without taking such a big loss. But the issue is that in our minds, and I mean, this is not just you at all, dude, this is all of us fucking in our minds. It is, we don't want to stop out, right? Like the reality is like, I don't want to stop out. Like I want to, I want to make sure this thing's maybe going to move a little bit more, but what happens is that we end up buying literally the bottom. Now, do you have anything to add to that, SJ, or, anything you want to say, TJ, before I wanted to see what happens as it plays out, but go ahead.
No, it's okay. I don't have anything to say.
All right, let's get off of the replay for a minute. So that was all right here, right? And what happens is we trend back up and we actually get another short entry up here. Now, what did you buy? Like, did this move not play out for it very well then? Because the theta had eaten it up, the time decay, or?
Yeah, by that time it did.
What did you get? Like, what were you trading?
392 SPY put.
Okay, so on SPY.
Because I was trying to get it down to that hourly zone that I think was about 392. I don't have my chart up, but
no, I can pull it up. I'm just looking at the time, 10:45.
yeah, it was 10:35 your time is when I entered.
All right. Okay, and you had 392s?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that was down here quite a bit. Yeah, that would have been, let's go to an hourly. That would have been about at 92, well, just under the 200 day. So yeah, so you're shooting for, yeah, shit, you were shooting for underneath. So that's one other thing to recognize. You were shooting for underneath this zone here, this white zone, and you're shooting for underneath the 200 day. So even on SPY, you got the 200 day in pink here. That's the 200 day moving average, which we have dipped under. So it's not like you couldn't see it dip under. But you got to keep in mind that there's that OG zone. I mean, if you log the two up next to each other, right, it's pretty much right here where we bounced. It was at 39 or 393.70, whatever, down just a little bit more. So you possibly could have gotten close to 392, but that is tough, man. And that's playing a 0 DT. What expiration was that, DJ?
Tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow's expiration?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not as bad then. Yeah. So, where did you stop out?
It was making the move. It bounced from where it got to where it hit the OG line, and it was, I would say, right where it starts to sputter out at the end of the day. So at that point, I was at 50%.
When it hit the OG zone, where did you stop out here, or did you hold it on the way up?
Well, I held it on the way up.
Okay, so that's really what fucked you there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's I'm gonna look at the chart and we can take a look at this, the chart of the contract, and then we can talk about that. Yeah, that's the other thing, man. Definitely stopping out is going to be the biggest issue, you know, or biggest thing that you're going to battle. Because there's all right, so let's do this. Let me switch the share screen here, and I want to show you what I'm looking at. So our times on real quick. Our times are 10:30, let's just say about, and then obviously the bounces. So our entry is 10:30. So all right. So entry at 10:30 is at the top up here, right? So somewhere in here. So you bought that for about $1, something like that. You got the 392 for tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it was exactly, I think it was $1. Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Right around $1. So you were actually green here for a little bit at the time of when we went down and touched that OG zone, right around 2 o'clock. So that's the thing, man. You got to once you go green on these, right? Like you got to, I mean, even if this pulls back and it comes back and it's trading at 99, like you got to just I don't know, you're going to need to have these OG zones up, because we bounced right off of, I mean, perfectly off of that 39.53 on the you know, the Owanda exchange, right? So it was, I mean, it was a perfect bounce. So I mean, you know, again, taking profits up here. Now, if you took it if you could get a fill at 1.2, I mean, the reality is, dude, that's a 20% move, which it doesn't seem like much. You're only making $20, but you got to remember that your contract only costs $100. So like that is good. That's good. I mean, now I get it that like, hey, what if it breaks through that zone? But definitely paying attention to those OG zones and just knowing that like that's where the move made. Now here's the reality, right? If you had bought it at the prime entry, let's say you bought it at, you know, 60 cents or maybe even 65 cents, you know, that would have been another story. But you got to ask yourself too, because this is not trying to pin shit to you, dudes. Don't take it the wrong way, because this is all shit that I've gone through, and you know, everybody goes through this in our head. We buy here at 65 cents. We get a push up here to $1, right? And you know, the reality is, like, if you're looking at just percentages, right? This is something you may want to do, is start looking at just percentages. Because if you look at that, right, that's I mean, from 60 to $1, or from 60 cents to $1 would be what, 40% profits, right? So whatever that would be, 35. So yeah, if you got in at 65 cents, that'd be a 35% gain, right? No, it's more than that. What am I saying? It's that's a 50% gain. That'd be 35 cents out of 65. So yeah, it's actually over a 50% gain, but it's only $35, right? So would that, you know, is that a spot you would take profits at? That's what you got to ask yourself for a question. And what the answer should be is yes, especially with a small account. Now, if you're able to have some runners, you know, you would take off risk here at $1, and then maybe it would trade back down. But then again, if you were able to do that, you might as well stop, you know, might as well take all your profits and just get back in again. That's at, you know, 60 cents or even lower, 55 cents, and then play it up here to this $1.20. But that's the thing you want to train your brain for, right? You want to start looking at these and saying like, look, you know, percentage wise, is this a great move, right? Even if buying it here, you got lucky, right? Because it came back down, way down, right? You obviously, you know, it looked like it was going to take a hit, and this thing came back up. And that's, you know, the thing is, like, that's, you were up 20% there after, you know, after really peaking and dropping back down. So like, that's, you want to look at it like that, like 20%, you know, and just cut it and be done. Did you actually stop out, or are you swinging it?
I stopped out.
Okay, so you're out of it. So you stopped out, took a 50% loss or something like that.
Yeah, correct. 50. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, dude, I mean, you know, that's the thing. So like when we were looking at losses, I mean, it's only $50, but it's, you know, it's 50%, right? So you want to look at your gains the same way. It's really important to like look at percentages on the way up, because obviously, you know, two things. Main thing is buying, you know, if you're getting puts, you want to wait for a pop in price, right? You want to wait for that retest of that zone above, like we were talking about, because you can see this on the premium chart where, you know, buying the put up here after there was this big spike like this, you know, that's definitely dangerous, right? Like you're buying, you know, you don't know if it's the top, but I mean, you're getting pretty damn close, you know. I mean, that's it's definitely something to watch for. So here's the 1 minute. Yeah, 10:35. So you had a couple minutes of chopping, get one more pop, It's like went up to $1 and that was the highest, and then it drained down. And I mean, dude, the mental anxiety, here's the reality that I cannot stand. We've talked about this. Oops. Hold on. Is for me, right? From here, from entry at 10:30 to reclaiming, what it is at basically 2:00. That's fucking almost 3.5 hours of wondering if price is going to come back. That shit is almost worse than the any loss. Like, to me, like, it's not worse, but I hate that, right? I spend half of my day waiting for something that I bought to, I didn't wait for the best entry, so now I'm waiting for it to come back into profit. It's psychologically, it's not damaging, but it's like jaded. It'll make you jaded is the best way I can think about it. Used to make me jaded. So, okay. Yeah, SJ, that's fine. So yeah, big thing. Yeah, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
That I was pretty jaded today, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, in the long term, dude, it's gonna I mean, you want to get away from that as quick as possible, because it'll scare you into doing other shit. You know what I mean? It's basically, it won't even, it'll tire you into just being complacent, right? So I don't know if scared is the right word. It's really more just like exhaustion. But yeah, so hopefully you can kind of figure that out. I mean, honestly, dude, like, yeah, like one mistake is not the end of the world. I mean, I know cash is tight, like it matters, obviously. I mean, it's $50, and especially on the smaller account. But don't beat yourself up too much. It's just that you really want to focus on the chart situation and not buying after a big move down, right? So like when we had this big move down here, that's not the spot to buy the puts. So you want to buy up against the zone. And I mean, look, you want to tell yourself like, hey, I'm going to buy puts up here. If it moves against me and moves up, that's it. I'm done, right? This seems like the best move. We've already tested it a couple times, whatever, right? Or tell yourself, hey, I'm going to wait, see if we get down here to this the main zone down here. And I'm going to go long off of it and just bounce, play the fucking bounce. Now, I did not realize, didn't think it was going to do all this, but well, it only moved up to, yeah, right here. This was the last big candle here. But I mean, you got to kind of pick that area, but what you don't want to do is wait for it to get halfway through and say, hey, I'm going to short it down to this level, because this shit happens almost every time. And I've been caught in it so many times, dude, throughout my career that eventually you just get tired of doing it. And then something clicks and it's like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I'd rather stop out, So, but anyways, man, you got any more questions on it or anything else you want to look at?
No, I'm good. I'm just here to listen now.
Yep, no doubt.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, no problem, man. Definitely happy to go over it. I think it's important to go over it, So, but
I was gonna say, if anything, since you are DJ, it sounds like you're doing the 3 trades for every 5 days. You could always.
no, I think he's got a cash account, man.
Oh, he does. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. It's a 1 day to replenish or whatever.
I got you. Well, I mean,
right?
if anything, you could always post what you're thinking in the chat, try to get someone's attention before jumping in the trade. Because even if nobody responds, and if you're not, 100% confident, you can always just wait for the next one. That's all I was gonna.
Yeah, 100%.
But I thought you were saying PDT. So, but I mean, either way, you could always, post in the chat, and hopefully someone responds sooner or later and say, hey, give their 2 cents.
I mean,
see if that goes your way or not.
Yeah, and if it's during the day, dude, someone will respond. I mean, as long as you tag us, like if you go into trade ideas and just tag, you can even tag at everyone, but either tag me or tag Tommy, tag, whoever, tag Phil. I don't know if Phil will see it. He's not always seeing it. I tend to see, I don't know, I don't always see it right that second, but somebody's looking. You're looking, Tommy, a lot of times. Like when Danny posts shit, sometimes I'm not right on it, but yeah, dude, that's a great suggestion, of course. Like, definitely, like, more than welcome to run trades by us. And I mean, honestly, dude, if it's like, hey, if you're going to trade live again, you're getting ready to do it, like, hit me up and like we can talk about like levels. We can pick out some levels. That's something. I mean, honestly, guys, that's something that's really on you guys to utilize. Is if you're looking at different charts, if you're thinking about different trades, like, post them, tag me, and I'm happy to give an analysis of what I see. You know what I mean? And just go from there. And then obviously if we're trading, if I'm trading live, if I'm trading that day or that period of time that it heads up there, I mean, it's something that we can obviously look at in real time too. So don't hesitate to do that, and it's not just me. There are other people in here that'll touch base on it too, or give you their opinion. But that's kind of part of being here. So, but again, it's really on you guys to be like, this is what I'm looking at type of thing. So we can talk about a lot of stuff hypothetically, but in the moment, it's time is crucial. So, but yeah, all right. Well, so what we're doing here, and I mean, look, this is all we've done, right? Oh yeah, let's look at the week. I want to show you the fucking week. It looked worse when I got off. When I bounced, we were right here. We were literally flat on the fucking week. It was hilarious. When I left at 2 o'clock. I thought that was a kick. I think it was when we were popped up like right here or something like that. Oh no, that's not it. When we bounced up to here, I believe. I don't know. I forget. I remember I was looking at it and I'm like, Jesus Christ, the week is hasn't gone anywhere. What we got? Yeah, no problem, dude. No problem. Definitely happy to help, man. And I mean anyone in here, like I said, that's what we're that's what we're doing. That's why we're here for sure. I mean, it's on each and every one of us to take our own trades, of course, and pull the trigger. But I mean, the thing is, we're a group, we're able to chat. It's fucking, readily available with some speed. There's multiple points of view in here and folks that are looking at different levels. And I mean, that's one of the reasons that I enjoy just trading live and talking, because, somebody will see something and be like, hey, watch out, because, there's a level here. There's a fucking, moving average. There's something that stands out. And, it's always good to throw it into your analysis. So yeah, that was a great point, Tommy. Thank you. And I guess we don't really talk about that enough. So, all right. So what we did to this week so far is nothing, in my opinion. Like this is the problem with the market. I mean, not the problem, but the thing is, like, we have these sell-offs and they just get bought up, right? And it's just it seems like some zero DTE rallying shit. Half of this move is done after hours, right? Because this is where we closed at the end of this candle. So right here around this 39.73, at least on this chart, right? We closed here. And then we had these, these are hourly candles. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 green candles afterwards that make up half the move. I mean, more, more than what we'd moved today, right? So, that's the market that we're in right now. We're just chopping around. Now, they're big enough ranges that we can make some money, but it's really important to remember, I think, that we moved up even just to where we're at now, right? What's that? Let's just say, what's that? 14, so 15 points. And our range today was, oh shit, I haven't seen that. There we go. So let's just say from here down to here, was 28 points. So, we just, like I said, we just moved half of the total day, which is crazy, in the after hours. So there's just not, we're just not going anywhere. I don't know what the deal is. It's probably waiting for the data come even Thursday. We can talk about that actually. Where did it go? Sorry, I'm fucking around with things. All right, so data wise, let's see. Oh, it refreshed me, and now I have all the countries. Isn't it nice when they do that? Because I want all the countries. Hold on, I know we have. All right, so Tuesday already happened, obviously. So Wednesday, not a lot. There's we got Fed bars testimony or testifying at 10 a.m. You got some mortgage stuff coming out at 7 a.m. And so 10:30, 10 and 10:30 is really, we got pending home sales. That would be at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So that'll be interesting to see, actually. Then some gasoline stuff, but that's basically it. There's really not a lot going on Wednesday, but Thursday we get into GDP. So at 8:30 Thursday, that's going to be a kind of a kicker. It's going to be GDP growth, the price index. We have initial jobless claims. We also have, let's see, what is that saying? We have like the core PC prices, but that's not, so Friday is the real PC price index. I don't know. I guess all that shit doesn't really matter. That comes out Thursday. It must be preliminary stuff. But yeah, so the GDP is big. And then at 12:45 p.m., something to keep in mind, we have Barkin and Waller speaking from the Fed. So that'll be interesting for second half of the day tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Thursday. And then Friday we have PCE index, which is what the Fed prefers to look at. And we have the Chicago PMI at 9:45. Then we have Michigan consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. So it's going to be kind of a fucking interesting opening. Probably not going to do jack shit. I think I'm going to run a space and just not worry about it. But the probably not going to do a lot that in the morning, and then just let everything kind of work itself out and then knock it out. So that'll be interesting. If anybody's interested in finding that stuff, I know I wasn't sharing the screen on that, but obviously it's in the Discord down in data ER. We also have some, let's see, I'm not gonna be able to see that either. Let's just do that. These are the earnings coming up. All right, so on Wednesday, we do have Paychex. That'll be interesting. Not a big mover, but a company that I used to interact with a little bit. Yeah, nothing really on the scope here. It's standing out. And then into Thursday. Yeah, I guess that's it. Rumble, I'll be interested to see what that does. We already had MU. So yeah, I don't know, unless anybody has anything they're looking at specifically. I don't think any of these interest me. Not that there aren't plays in these, but nothing that I'm seeing. So yeah. Wow, well, that is amazingly not interesting. So yeah, I don't see shit there. All right, well, just we looked. As far as sharing the screen, let's go back to this. You guys want to look at anything? James, you want to go over anything specifically?
Oh, I was gonna ask you about Boyle. Obviously I've left it alone, but man, it's I mean, and now it's again down there in the in the toilet, I guess.
Yep. Oh yeah, I've been watching it, man. I mean, you could play you could always put on a little bit of risk and say, hey, look, if we dip down this low at the end of the day, this is UNG, obviously not Boyle, but it's good to watch. I always like looking at this first. We had a big drop down, obviously end of the day. That was what, the 2 o'clock candle, so from 2 to 3. There's obviously a little bounce here. So now that we see what that looks like, let's see what Boyle looks like. Yeah, and Boyle fucking barely bounced. So I mean, that's tough. The thing is, now tomorrow, if we wake up, by the time we open, if we get the thing is, this does oscillate. It's not necessarily going to drop all the way down, but you get days like this where it gaps and it drops. I mean, it's tough to trade that with a swing, right? Because what I was going to say is that you could put on a little bit of money and just play, thinking that, hey, it's going to bounce, right? Or there's a chance that it's going to bounce. So tomorrow, maybe it runs up a little bit before dropping more, basing out. I don't know. It's pretty fucked up. Not going to lie. I don't have much to do with this at the moment. Let's look at UNG, because that's really.
The one thing I was going to say about Boyle is it's very, and I'm talking pennies, I know that, but it has been very consistent in like 16, 17 cent moves. So obviously, you got to throw some money at it, but it's been very consistent in those little moves. I've got my little price range thing all over the place, and it's super consistent that way.
Yeah, I mean, look at UNG. It's not even can't even really trade that on the 1 minute. Oh boy, Boyle's just as bad. Yeah, I mean, you can get, I guess you can get in and out of it, man. What a barcode, I mean, you're talking from open here.
Right.
Not saying you can't trade that, but I would be more inclined to short Boyle at this point. If you get a pop, intraday, right? Just playing the quick moves, get a pop, fucking just play it down on the pennies on the dollar, you know? Like what is,
Yeah, and
Let's
I
just
played
say
it that way. Those little scalps, basically.
yeah, let's say it bases here, you pop up, you get the pullback. So let's say you get in at 360. You know, and then take it up to probably 380 realistically, right? Or something like that. So let's say take it up 380. That's a 20-cent move. So I mean that's not bad, you know, it's definitely not terrible. But once you pop up here and it starts to base, say it drops, you get the pullback, we grab it there. You know, I mean, that's that at least even if you played it down to here, it's still only 22 cents. But if you caught, you know, again, but this drop, I guess you could have seen that coming possibly, right? See if the 3-minute looks any better. That shit's hurting my eyes. The you know, you could see something like this, although man, this is tough, right? But you did get, if you look at what it did, you know, even where your support, when I get on something this low, I mean, you can use, you know, the full levels here. So just keep in mind that they do change, but you see how like that's your support, right? That's if you're looking for a, you know, if you're looking for like a demand zone, this is a 3-minute chart, by the way. So this is not a 5-minute, but you know, there is this level here on the 3-minute, and you can see how we did come down and bounce, right? Pre-market bounce. This is now at open. So once we broke through that, we got to close below that level at 358. You know, we got one attempt to come back up, but it immediately came back down. You know, you probably could have caught that and then played this move down. What is that? That would be, is it quite 10 cents? Almost. I mean, if you got in 358, where's 348? So, I mean, you catch a 10-cent move off that, you know, which I mean, I get it, you know, I mean, this is pretty cheap. I mean, you're getting into the realm of penny stockness, you know, where you can definitely make some money from these moves, you know, if you don't mind buying. I mean, I think it's liquid enough, right? I believe it's, I don't know what shares trade, but I would think that Boyle is liquid enough. Although I will say it's getting pretty low, man. Like this is getting sketchy. I'm almost,
Yeah, I'm with you on the sketchy because the moves, when I first started watching it and playing it, you see how consistent the moves were
Yeah.
a week and a half ago, where I was talking about this little 17, 18, 20 cents, but now it's really flatlining and getting into like, maybe it's just leave it alone for the moment.
Personally, what I want to see is I want to see some type of recovery. Like I do not need to catch the bottom on this. I don't really know where, I mean, if it got down to $3, are you really buying it? You know, I mean, I get it, $3 to $4 is a 33% move. But if it got at least back up to $4 and kind of held on, I'd be a little bit, you know, I'd have way more confidence than trying to buy it at 3. You know what I'm saying? Like on Boyle, at least, like, it's just as much as it's like, oh, I'd love if it drops at 3, like, I don't even know if I really want to buy it there. I mean, maybe put a little bit of money on, but certainly not dump a lot into shares. I would have to see it base out. Obviously, we're looking at the 1-hour chart now, of course. So, but I mean, if it got back up to $4, at least then, you know, I can look at this and say, look, there's obviously levels above. There's going to be levels above. The thing is that, like, at least we have some support here, right? And I mean, really, you could even say somewhere over here around, you know, 4.25. And that line of thinking for me kind of keeps going to where I'm like, well, really, I'd like to see it back up above $5, you know, at least here though. But $5, because $5 gives me, or 480, right? See how we had all this red here? This is on the hourly, but I mean, you kind of have it dropping down, and we got to push up. We flattened out, and we dropped again. We bounced, and then we had this big rollover, right? So where this yellow zone is at, which is a 4-hour, not a 1-hour, of course, but it's but the thing is, that's kind of representative to me, like where possibly the ceiling is. I mean, you could probably say there's another one right here, just under 4, so 398. That's why it kind of stands out, right? You can see that, right? You can kind of see how, like, that's your support. That's what we gapped down under this morning, right? Do you see that? I can pop
Yep,
that up.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, that's our hourly support. Imagine that. We'll make it blue.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say, it's also kind of a classic longer time frame once you would see it retest. So pop up, retest some level, and then bounce off of that level, successfully retesting it, then you could start to think about something as far as a longer, right?
Oh, yeah, as far as a longer term, and I don't know if I would take Boyle on the longer term. I mean, maybe like a swing trade, you know. I mean, anybody that bought Boyle here, when it really dipped, I mean, you could play it. This was from what, the 22nd up to, if you top ticked it, that was up to the March 3rd. So I mean, that's, you know, that was a decent little move there. I don't know how many trading days it was. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, it's like 7 trading days, 8 trading days, and that's if you top ticked it here. You know, and this is something to keep in mind if you see big moves like this, you know, that push up with Boyle. Probably not a bad idea to take it, you know, lock it in instead of keep swinging.
Yeah, definitely. No, and sorry, when I said long term, I shouldn't use that. I should say swing and maybe maximum overnight.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just want to make sure because I know, you know, like long, I mean, UNG is the way to go, obviously. I know we talked about this the other night, like TQ was you know, we touched whatever the other night when we were talking about it for sure. I mean, I will say this, man, there is volume coming in. So if we touched on this the other night, let's look at UNG because there are some things that are worth paying attention to here. And it's really, I know we talked about this. It's this little candle right here, right? This green. When this thing pops up after seeing a big volume push like this, it's, you know, it is interesting. Now, we've also seen a drop since then. So that's curious in this to me, because that is, you know, that's showing that there was relative volume here on this pop, but that could have maybe that's short selling or that either is short covering right on this bounce, which it probably was because this was the support previously, right? You can kind of see where my alert is. But the thing is that, I mean, maybe that was the last man's ditch out of some of this, you know. People said, hey, fuck it, I'm out. I would think that that's what this was here. You know, a lot of short covering as well as, you know, any rallying and last minute. Anybody that maybe got in here said I'm out. As this pushed up, you know, I don't know. It's but yeah, what I want to see is I'd want to see some volume come back in, and I want to see this gain, you know, I would want to see this gain at least above this level here, this daily support. So let's put that in. So 721. So yeah, 720, man. That's, which I mean, this is on UNG, not Boyle. So, but again, I would be watching UNG because Boyle may look to have, you know, may look weaker. It may, you know, it's hard to say because it's leveraged. So it's just yeah, this shit's getting pounded, dude. And then you have the weekly. I mean, fuck, you got the weekly demand here that we, you know, was obviously it's still in play because, you know, we bounced, right? Then we dipped into it, we bounced, and look what we did. We closed here and then we gapped. And that was the day that we really closed below. And then since then we tried to push, we finally got back up inside and they shorted the fuck out of it and dropped us back down. And now we're just trending down. I mean, what a short entry up here. This was the short entry. Was on that retest of the weekly after it was broken. So, and yeah, there is one little weekly candle here, which potentially you could say is you could call that the demand. But when I see something like this, I like to I don't know, this is tricky with UNG. There's a lot of, this is close enough that you could call it both. But anyways, you know, but bottom line is this level here. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's tricky. And now we have weekly supply sitting up here. So even if this does rally back up, you know, we gotta get it to beat $9. So, but yeah, I don't know. I have alerts on both sides of this thing. I will most definitely, you know, this is another one, like we can chat about this. If, you know, if you're thinking of doing something, definitely tag, you know, hop in the chat and post something. I will do the same if I see something breaking here. Really, I'd want to see it back above where my alert is, which is right. Actually, it's right on that gray line. That's hilarious. So that is the level, right? So that 721, if that triggers and we can see like an hourly or really a 4-hour close, it'd be great to see a daily close above that 721. You know, at that point we could talk about a long, because we may, you know, at that point it may start to bounce back, but it could be a couple weeks, man. She's an ugly bitch, that's for sure. This thing is I don't know, it's dirty.
Yeah, I
and
think
it's
there's
too bad.
been a lot of, sorry, there's
No,
been a
go
lot
ahead. Yeah.
of negative news, I think, around states saying no, basically banning gas stoves in new construction, maybe something like that. I'm not 100% on that, but anyway, just
It's
to
so
throw
dumb,
that
dude.
last
Yeah,
thing in there. But
it's
I know
such a
it's really
joke.
corny. It's
Yeah.
it's totally corny. So regarding SPX, I did want to just ask you real quick, what do you see as far as in between where it bottomed out today? So that 39.53, whatever. What do you see in between there and 39, 11 or so? That daily, I think, is what that is.
Well,
down there.
39.11. Yeah, the next zone is 39.11. The daily
Okay.
comes down to here. So I mean, this is, and again, this was a this is the daily demand. It's a big zone, but it is it is demand in my opinion. Like this wick here does not quite touch the demand zone down here, but it's close enough. You know what I mean? Like this is obviously interacting with this demand zone. So this would be the next one, and it makes sense the way we've been interacting with it here. So what do I see in between that? So I would say,
I'm just kind of wondering if you think it just free falls if it goes below that 39.11.
yeah, I mean, who knows, man? Oh, if it goes below it, or you mean below this zone here, this 39.44.
Sorry, yes, right.
Yeah. So if it gets below that, you have the 200-day sitting underneath it. But yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not a lot going on there. That is the kind of the fact of the matter, right? This is your hourly demand. Put that in, and that actually covers, this candle here too. So I mean, if we get underneath that 39.44, I think it'll be a quicker move down to at least down to this 39.19, right? That's kind of what I'm looking for now at this point. Well, I'll say this, it doesn't look bad. We rallied up, but we'll have to see where we open up tomorrow, obviously, or where the futures take us overnight. But I mean, the fact that we pushed up here, and even on the 4-hour, right? Like this was the close. Or I'm sorry, the close was here. We closed the day, underneath this zone, right? Now we did bounce, we came down, touched this one, came back up, but we couldn't close the day back up above that 39.80. So when I see that, I look at this and I say, all right, so let's see what we do. Overnight, I was saying this even to Neo. I was texting him earlier and looking at ES, and I'm like, it looks like we could get a move up to 40.50 on ES, right? So on SPX, that would be, that's going to move it up into this area here, like this 40.10, 40. Yeah, it's 40.10. I don't know why there's two. Where are there two fucking? Huh. Yeah. Anyways, on the hourly, right? So that's going to be your hourly supply. I think we get a move up to here. Potentially, that's if we break the zone. Now, it'd be nice to open up the day, tomorrow somewhere up in here, because that would tell me, either up in here or back inside the zone, or preferably just underneath it, right? That's what I'd like to see. I think, but the short is still up here. Like, honestly, going into tomorrow, I think that I wanted to look and see what this daily. Yeah, so this is not a daily zone anymore. Let's get rid of that. All right, much better. I was bugging the fuck out of me. Two things to think about here, right? One is we have a weekly area here, right? So we could rally all the way up to 40.50, something like that. On the 4-hour, on the 1 hour, we have our obvious 1 hour supply that has kicked in consistently, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for, is this 4,000, 4,010 max, probably just 4,005 is where we would see a short. It may not even make it up there because we are just kind of trending down. Now on this chart, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, did we break above that? So we did break, yeah, same chart as ES. So we did just here, for what it's worth, and trend lines are shit in my opinion. We did break above this trend line, if that's what you want to call it. there are other trend lines, of course. I mean, where are you going to go from? You could say a few things here. So
Hey,
not my
let me point out a retracement thing that happened. So if you pull your chart back up, okay, and then you go to Thursday, where we dipped into that daily, right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, yep, we dipped in. Okay, so if
Thursdays
you,
here, yeah.
sorry, hold on, Friday, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. What are
Okay,
you
so we
talking
dipped-
about?
See how we dipped into the daily, right? Down here Friday,
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there. Okay.
Well, this
If
is the daily here. So we touched the weekly
sorry.
demand here.
Sorry, weekly. Sorry, I'm not used to that one. Okay, so if you do a price bar chart, you go all the way from there, all the way up to what we've achieved. The highest point we achieved.
Talking about
Today.
here or on the rally?
No, go right to there.
Talking about
Go
on Monday, right?
Yep. So that's 2.5%. Okay, that's 2.5%.
Mhm.
And then where we fell back to today is exactly 1.25%.
See, yeah, you're
Just-
talking like the fibs then.
50% retracement. I
Yeah.
just did it. I didn't really do it as a fib. I just did it with my with that price chart tool. But I just noticed that I just always like to kind of keep these things in mind, because they don't really happen by accident. I mean, it's all about the zones, but I always think these little things can also kind of be guides, if you will, right?
I mean, yeah, no, it definitely can, but I will say this. So it dipped under, so it went under the 0.5 just slightly, right? Didn't quite hit the 618. My issue with these always, or not, I shouldn't say issue, but the question that always happens, and maybe you need to look, maybe I should look at the daily. Now it's still the same thing from here up to the peak up here. Is that it's like, okay, where are you going to enter, right? Do you enter on the 0.5? Do you wait for the 618? You know what I mean? Like, so what I end up doing is I always just end up going back to the fact of the zones. I mean, look, there's a lot of lines on this chart, you guys. If you took anything away from this, honestly, from my charts, it's gonna be the white lines, right? I mean, that's why I put that chart out that DJ was talking about. That's why I posted that, because it's like, look, what we did today is we rallied up, we tagged 3980, the bottom of the zone above, right? And we fucking dropped all the way down to the top of the zone below, right? We just ping pong. Now today was perfect, right? It was a beautiful, didn't happen over here this day, so it's not always perfect. I mean, obviously, but that's the first thing that I pay attention to. But yeah, I mean, it is a 50% retracement. I mean, I think it would play out pretty well like that. Did you go all the way up to here to the peak on Monday 9 a.m.? Is that right, James?
I did the wicks. I used the wicks at the bottom and the wicks at the top, just because.
No, I did too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what made the move. I just thought it was interesting that it was so damn precise. It was 2.5% up, and then it was 1.25% down. That's all. I just always find it so interesting that they're so damn precise.
No, I know. Mine isn't lining up. That's why I'm wondering where you're getting the okay, so 2.53. Maybe that's why, because it's like 2.53 and then like 1 and
Yeah, it should be the drop to today's should be 1.25.
mine's 1.33. Okay.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So that's why it's not. But I was wondering why it's not coming, because I know it sounded like you're saying it was right on. So in mine showing just dipping. I don't know if you can see it on the screen here or not, but the orange line.
I was probably being a little sloppy.
But I mean, it is still a pretty much a 50%. I mean, look, and we dipped under it. I don't know, depending on what time frame you're looking at, we dipped under it and pulled back. And yeah, Eric, I'll look at Baba here too. Yeah, I mean, that's I mean, the fibs are good on it. The only thing is that my issue with the fibs is that it always comes back to, well, I mean, I like the fibs on the larger time frames, especially, but on these intraday moves, it's, I don't want to say it doesn't work at all, because I've seen many times, like I found it useful throughout my trading career. But on day to day, like if you ask me like where we're going to dip down to, like we were talking about this morning, it's that the zone. I mean, Phil and I were talking about it in the very beginning of the day. He's like, yeah, I got like 3950, and I'm like, well, that, I have the zone at 3953 to 3944. That is the target overall, right? It's just and even with like DJ's puts that he bought, the thing is it did go there, right? That is the target. I mean, that's where we dropped down to. obviously, thinking it's going to continue down further, it's problematic for puts, but but that is the target. So that's why, and I mean, look, if you ask me where are we rallying to the top, like I know that this hourly supply, like we've rejected it here and here. Chances are we're probably going to reject it again, right? If anything, maybe we push up through to the white zone above 41.14, but that will be brief lived, and on an hourly, I doubt that we close above it. And if we do, it tells us something different. But like no fib could there may be a fib that lines up with that, but again, like when does it line up? I mean, like when do you know to get in and out of it? So they're always good as like a complementary, in my opinion, right? They're always going to be good as like a complementary tool. But by themselves, it becomes very difficult to say like when am I supposed to enter or not, right?
Right. Yeah,
In
no,
my
and
opinion, or
right.
in my
And like I said,
experience.
no, you're 100%. And I wasn't using the fib tool per se, but I'm totally
That's a
with
good
you.
point. You're just looking at a halfway mark. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had
It
zoned
works.
it. So, I mean, really, that's all that really matters. Because apparently, that zone is valid, and that's probably just those two things, working in conjunction. Like, hey, this is an old, demand level, and, the algos are like, yeah, hey, that's also 50%. So anyway, again, yeah, like you said, complimentary type of thing, just as a little like, oh, this could be a potential turnaround spot that besides the
I mean, a
demand zone.
50% retracement on any big move is always going to be good for sure. I mean, that's something, and so is the 618. So I mean, definitely agree with that, dude. I mean, if you put a fib on like, let's see, like this move down here.
Yeah, the thing I hate about the fibs is I never know where to do them, really.
I always do the wicks, honestly. Sometimes if I'm doing a daily candle, you can do the body, but I prefer not to. I mean, you look at this, right? Look where we retrace back to. Yeah, this is from. Hold on, let me fit it all in here. That's from this low over here, right, all the way up to the highest that we've hit here recently when we got up near 40, 45. And the immediate drop from Powell takes us right back down to the 618. I mean, it literally we bounced just above it, the 618 retracement. The thing is though, like, would you hit the five? Again, where would you take a trade here? You still have to wait for it to bounce. So as it bounces here over the 618, you can say, hey, look, I'm, this is possibly a good trade. Now, obviously, this is after hours at this point, but again, and then even continuation down still. Well, see, that's where it gets choppy. But that initial move after a big push up, but you have to know that, okay, that big peak, you almost have to immediately throw it on and then measure it. It just gets now let's say if it went even before Powell to like this, where would that be? So that's basically a 0.5. It dipped a little under and then it came back and held it. So I mean, they do the 0.5 is always good. But again, I don't know if you back test it. The issue is if you back test fibs, even if you pick one or the other, they're not super successful all by themselves, right? Like you'd have to pick the right fib every time, and that's where it's that's where it gets problematic. I mean, there are people who just focus on the fibs and they crush it. So I mean, and again, I know you're not talking specifically about the fibs, but the point, a 0.5 retracement or 50% retracement is definitely, part of the reason that shit works is, and again, it's not always 50%. Sometimes it's 618. Sometimes it's the opposite. It's the inverse of the 618. Those are worth.
Yeah, it can be a third. It can, right. The pullback can be a third. And so anyway, yeah, but well, thanks for checking that out. And
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's always worth taking a look at. I mean, I don't dislike the fibs. Like I said, when we were looking at that, months ago on the bigger time frames. I mean, if you pull from the COVID low up to the all-time high, and you look at where we bottomed, the lowest of this bear market, it's right at the first fib. So it's I believe that's here, let's show you guys. It's yeah. So if we go to like even the weekly, let's do that. Yeah, so if we pull a fib from here. Go with those to the top, see where we bounced. I'm sorry, it was the half, it wasn't the first fib. What am I saying? It was the 0.5. So that's right. This is the first one. So it wasn't the first fib, it's the 382. I think it's hard to see because it's dark purple. But it's this line here when we first dropped, right? I mean, look at all these drops actually. You can just see it. Let's see if I can't turn it up right now, but this is going from the COVID lows, right? COVID lows to all-time highs. The first big pullback came back to the first fib line. We even held it on the weekly, right? And we rallied up and then we dropped again. And this is the one I remember checking, right? We bounced here. This is the second fib out of the 382, and then eventually we do get to the 0.5. And so far that has been the bottom. So, I mean, when you look at this, I mean, I've been saying like, 3,200 to 3K is kind of like my level because I like where it's at, or 32 to 3,300. It's here, but it's also the 618, retracement. So if we get another big push down, I would expect us to at least come down to 3,200. On this situation, the fibs, I love them, right? Like I'm very much, but you have time to work this out. Now the thing is though, where are you going to take your short entry, right? You just take it on any pop. At that point, you could look at fibs on a smaller time frame, but again, the reality is I personally, I look at this and I'd rather use something like the major moving averages and the zones, right? Because once we get into the daily zones, we can find the supply zones where we're getting actual signals, like that stand out, I guess, a little bit more. So, but they're definitely there, man. I mean, I definitely put these on, right? The fibs matter to me a lot on the bigger time frames personally, because they do play out. I mean, it's for whatever reason, I don't know why, I know there's a lot of argument about like them being bullshit or whatever, but
I think part of it's algo. I think part of it's a lot of quants. I think it's and it's psychological, right? It's got that.
dude, it's all algo trading. I mean, it really is mainly algo trading, and it's it's not always the same algo, but that's why, I mean, honestly, that's why the zones I think work the best, man. They are areas that you can see consistently over time. The OG zones work, and it's sometimes it's amazing how well they work to a T, but I mean, again, it's they don't always work like today, right? But the thing is, like, if we look at this on the 4-hour on SPY, right? There are areas that just stand out, right? I mean, when you see something like this, a level where we push up and we have this daily, this bullish candle here, right? I can look at this green candle and I can say, look, this thing stands out like a sore thumb. It's an area of battle, right? Of imbalance. And if I snap lines to it, lo and behold, it's not perfect. We dip under it too, right? There's other levels down here, but I can just see this level, snap it, and it's a support here. If I can access support here, we finally break through, come back up. We're testing it here. It's acting as resistance. There is supply here. Bounce up, come back down. It holds beautifully this whole fucking 3 days, whatever. And then boom, we get a big drop down. Look where we've come up and retested again, right? And I literally just grabbed that because I look at the chart and I see, you do this long enough, you'll be able to find these areas. And the cool thing is I've picked it from here. Well, let's go back and see what it looks like, right? Well, lo and behold, look at this shit, right? This is going back months. This is back in summer 2022. Resistance, we got the pop above, retested it, boom, off to the races. Let's keep going. Let's see last time it fucking interacted. Ooh, there's one. Now, I mean, there are a lot of levels like this, but then again, this is on the 4-hour chart. I constantly find that's why, when you look at something like this, it's like, holy shit, there's a lot of zones. But I mean, intraday or even short-term swing, these are decent sized moves, right? So anyways, that's I think that is algo trading. I wish I had a perfect example or a reason why these work. But I'd be making it up, I mean, I shouldn't say I'd be making it up. I would be guessing to a certain extent, right? And the beauty is that you'll find that the more you do this, like this big candle up where this stops, it's not so much this imbalance for me, it's where this thing stops at, right? And you'll find that will work better. You just practicing fucking around with the zones will do it. So anyways, like, let's see if that one plays out since we're fucking doing this. let's see. Yeah, so we have a wick down to it right here, bounce, another wick, bounce up, gap down. We finally get through it. We have an indecisive bearish candle there. Right here, we come up to it, we hold. When we finally gap above, right, we open the right here, the 4-hour candle, we get a pullback, and then boom. There's also MAs here that you could, blame it on. And yet here we blast right through it, right? So again, but then come back here. It does have some interaction. A retest to that level here. Out of all these green candles, where's this one red 4-hour candle? Well, it's right after we popped over the zone. So these things stand out, right? And over time, you can see these, and you can build zones off of these. And honestly, I mean, it's harder. If you're looking for day trades, you want to be able to focus in a little bit tighter. But I mean, there's no reason you can't just take trades off of this, right? So if we push back up, and again, that's right around 399, right? Not quite 400, because obviously SPY skewed a little bit. But that is, it makes sense, right? We push up to this level again. This is where the hourly level is. This is where the 4-hour supply is at, right? It's going to be, it's going to be an area we probably reject. So, sorry. Yeah, anyways, that makes sense. Hopefully that works for you guys. All right, let's look at Baba real quick.
You always make sense, bro.
Yeah, well, listen, some days. No, but I mean, dude, the zones are special, man, and it just is. Honestly, I wish I had a better answer about why they work, because I know, like, even for me, like, it wouldn't help, it would make sense, right? It helps kind of like make our brains like accept it. I mean, the reality is that you just kind of want to go with it. I mean, there are reasons, and I think it is the algo, and it probably doesn't have to be any more complicated than that, let's say, right? But
I think it's basically, it's just when you're up in the supply zone, it's like, okay, buyers are like, okay, I'm done. I'm not interested at a price that's any higher than this. So you drop the price, I'll become interested. And then once you get to a price that's low enough for buyers to say, yeah, I'm super interested right here. And then that's your demand zone, right? I mean, it's just, isn't that really what it's all about? Is just.
Yeah, I mean, it is. That's exactly it. I mean, and it's literally that they have orders and they're not going to fill, right? You're not going to get the cheaper price if people keep buying it, right? That's why they do dark pools, that's why they try to slide orders through these, the smart money, because it literally will adjust, the price. So they have to. So, I mean, it makes sense if algos are trying to trade this, they're looking for kind of a level, right? Like that's, there's, I don't know, it's obviously it could get complicated, but I think that those levels are levels of interest. And I mean, who knows how many algos are actually looking at this? There are computer programs that are analyzing, literally just analyzing what we're doing right now, looking for patterns, and then they play off of them. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? That's where it gets like kind of twisted in my head, where I'm like, well, I mean, is it, literally it's just spotting the patterns, right? But it's not patterns in that sense. It's just like, where are we getting massive moves up or down from? And it's not always going to be the exact same spot, but I'll tell you what amazes me, and Tommy can vouch for this because he's been trading with me forever. We have zones that we'll draw. And I mean, they seem like they're kind of fucking out of whack, whatever. And then you'll get like it'll come back up to it like 7 months later, or a year later. And that zone will be just as fucking effective as it was, 18 months before. Tell me why. Like, honestly, like, I just don't, I mean, I can guess, but like, why, but it does. And they do it, that it works time and time again. So, it's one of those things that if it keeps working, let's play it, right? We might as well keep using it, but it's pretty wild here. So
Yeah,
look,
the bigger time frames.
Yeah.
The bigger time frame zones, definitely. It's crazy how we leave them on our charts for a reason, because they will come back to effect.
I mean, dude, there's charts. I remember I had fucking zones from years, from 2020, dude, on some of these, well, a lot of these zones I had on another layout, right? And I checked it out after we had dropped in 2022 because everything retraced like massively, obviously. And like, no shit, we're bouncing off of the zones, we're bouncing off zones that traded, in early 2020, in winter of 2019. I mean, like, I don't know.
Hey, this would be a cool discussion for some evening. I know MG mentioned this a long time ago, and I've never been back to ask him about the Wyckoff method, but I kind of wonder if, what you guys are talking about with these levels that remain valid for years. I kind of wonder if it might have something to do a little bit with that Wyckoff, distribution accumulation stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it might, dude. It's I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know if that would be effective on the 4 hour. I mean, the zones stand out sometimes on the daily, but they're really from the 4 hour. I mean, the 4 hours is key, and it seems to be the right time frame to build them to get to see the best interaction. Because I tried it on the daily. Sometimes I'll zone on the daily, but very rarely, and they just don't interact always the same way. Because it's something about the 4 hour. I think the 4 hour gives you access to the wicks of, kind of the upper and lower range of the daily candle, you know what I mean, of these daily candles. And that's really where you want to be, right? Like you want to get the best entry for even swings. Now, maybe not if you're just investing, but, I mean, for a horizon that is, no more than like 3 to 6 months max, right? Normally fucking a week. Even on the swings, it's you want to grab when these things push up. I mean, like these zones on Baba, I mean, they're from back here, they're from back at least from March of 2022. And yet it's where we pumped up, look, I mean, we bounced and popped up. I mean, I wish I had paid more attention to these. I'm going to redo the zones on Baba. That's one thing, Eric. As far as what I see it doing, you grabbed calls, you said, right? Let me go back to his post. He bought calls. He bought common stock. So yeah, he bought Baba shares a while ago, and finally in the green. What's the outlook? Well, my outlook is that you're coming into a definite pump up right around $100. So I would have my stop. I don't know what your entry's at, but yeah, I don't know.
You're finally in the green, I'd take it.
Yeah, no shit. I'd be putting a tight stop, dude. I would not be giving too
If
much.
obviously if you've been holding, and you just now got in the green, yeah, I think I'd be taking my money and running.
I mean, I don't know where did you get in, Eric? I don't know if you want to
I'm at $3.33 profit per share. So it's
So 96,
95
95. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so you bought it fucking probably back here somewhere and you held it through all this. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it depends, man. I don't know how much you got in it and what you're trying to do. Either take your money, right? Or, I would have your stop, you could have it down, 96, like 75 or something like that. Or 96.50. Just know that that's not going to give you much profit if you stop out there. But here's the thing with Baba, it will gap down, right? So yeah, that's the tricky part with swinging these things, right? Normally when you get a push like this, I mean, this is a big push, right? This is a pretty massive push. I mean, even on the 4 hour.
That's pretty parabolic. I'd be cautious.
It's a big move, but I mean, Baba has been known to do this shit, right? Where it rides up. I guess, the reality is I think it's going to go up to 101.50. Now, the question is, when does it do it right away? It could easily pull back, come back down, bounce at 96 or $97, and then go back up. And I don't know if you want to hold it for all of that. So it's really on you, like where you want to see it. You do have 4 hour supply here. But the next zone up is 101.46 to 102.74. So
Did you have a price target, Eric?
not anymore.
No, no, I didn't. No, I just bought it on a day that I wasn't sure if it was going to go down further or not. And I was like, we're down here. We just get commons. Yeah, I'm in the RRA, so I'm not pulling money out anyway. So I could leave it in there till retirement. You know what I mean?
I don't think I'd do that because Baba is probably won't go anywhere, but dude, there's just so much going on with it. You just don't know with China. I'm not a big fan of this shit, like what it's done, right? I mean, I buying it down here and look at that, the fucking zones right there, like how dumb. Maybe I put that in after it bounced. I don't know though. I swear we've had these zones. Nah, this one probably I put in after it bounced. These have been here for a minute.
For sure,
These have
put your
been here
stop in the
forever.
green.
Oh
You know,
yeah, dude,
And
definitely.
you know,
Yeah,
if
The
anything,
issue,
you know,
though, is-
if you want to let a little ride, but you know, you're finally in the green.
it is
That's how,
tough though,
that's how
right?
we look at it. Yeah.
I mean, I would say, well, it's tough if it gaps down, you know, that is always a possibility, but you seem to be far enough that it probably wouldn't gap. You know, the next zone I have, the zone below is 95.15, and I would say it's most likely going to bounce there. I know it's tough to see right now because I have it shrunk, but this is the head and shoulders pattern though that I think Jeff was talking about, or someone was talking about. You know, you kind of have your shoulder, your head, and your shoulder again, right? And of course, a lot of them are hoping that this is just going to rip up and really rock and roll. And I don't know. I mean, I just am not buying it because there's been so many instances where we've heard that, right? Like when we did this shit, right? This was just going to bounce and go up, and then we dropped and we came right back up. And what did it do? It went all the way back down. I mean, you're not quite up there yet. If you hold it for a little bit of time, I would put my stop, you know, at the green or at least at break even, right? And I would have alerts above it. And that way, dude, if it does try to gap down, I mean, look at this gap down. We closed here. What is this? We closed here and we opened at, now, when are you able to trade that in pre-market? Like what broker do you have it on?
Schwab.
Okay, so what time can you trade? Like how early can you trade shares? Is it 7 or is it 8 or Eastern time?
I normally don't do it, not on this. I used to do it on Weevil, but
Yeah, well,
let's
that's
try
4
to get
o'clock,
out
yeah.
early if possible. Pre-market maybe.
Well, I'm just saying if you see it moving down right now, obviously if you have to hold it for the day, like this gap was, 4.3%. So, that gap that day was 4.3. That's a pretty good sized gap. There is this, of course, what's that? 5.6. So now, and again, these tend to gap on a red day down. Well, not always, but let's just say if it did gap down to here. Yeah, so I mean, back to this zone would be like 3.5%. So yeah, I mean, not saying that's going to happen overnight, tomorrow night or tonight. Just keep in mind we did hit the 50-day. We closed right at it, right? Like this is the 50-day moving average. Oops, don't do that. We did, we tried pushing up, came back, and we closed, at the 50 days. So I would see what it does tomorrow. But yeah, man, if you wake up in the morning, here's the thing. If you wake up and you see pre-market, it's coming down, because a lot of these gaps, they, you still have pre-market moves, right? Like sometimes it just gaps up, but we're not quite at the weekend yet. I would say unless we move up quite a bit, I probably wouldn't hold it into the weekend. Unless, it's really up to you, dude. I don't know if you're trying, but here's the thing. If you're trying to do a day trade on it or a swing trade, like you made the pop, right? So like you were in the red and you got green again and it really rallied up. Like take your money and walk away, right? If is that what you were trying to trade? I assume, right? When you took it, or were you trying to? I mean, you weren't trying to just add shares for the next like 6 years, right?
I thought if I needed to, I would have saved it, but I don't know, $3 a share. I'm like, is it worth it? Because I've seen it be so much higher. But maybe it'll never get back to that high.
Well, it's all about percentage, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, when you're buying commons, obviously you bought it at 96, it moved up 99. It's well, I don't know, it closed. So it closed actually underneath here, right? And we've moved up some after. Yeah, we moved up some after hours. So, again, it moved up after hours. I don't know. It could continue up, man. I mean, I would watch this zone up here and then just keep your stop, keep alerts on it and keep your stop kind of moved in an area and just know that eventually, I mean, here, let's see, when this pushed up, what time was this? That was 7 a.m. So it actually pushed up pre-market from here.
Yeah, I'm looking at Thinkorswim, and 23 million shares were traded like at 6 a.m. to 6:30. And it's approaching the fourth deviation. And the shares at the end of the day dropped off to half of that, 10 million. On the 1 hour.
Yeah, well, let's look at the yeah, no, absolutely. Let's look at the daily too. So you do have I mean, you do have what would that look like? Yeah, I mean, I could see it getting up to like 102, 103. That would put it right inside this zone here. But it is extended up, right? I mean, it's fucking, it rocketed up. If it pulled back, it could pull back to like $90.
I just heard something about it being split up into 6 different companies.
Yeah,
and they
no,
were all
it
gonna
is.
do their
Yeah.
IPOs, and I was like, what does that do to a company? I never heard of something like that happening.
Yeah, no, it is. It's well, that's the shit with China, right? And it was reaction was bullish. That's the thing. I don't trust China, man. I mean, look, when you know the big oil company, right? What was it? US or the Rockefeller's oil company, right? When they got split up, because they were, you know, they had the whole market, right? Blah blah blah. Well, when they got split up, they became they made Rockefeller, you know, the original, well, not the original, but the old Rockefeller, the richest man in the world, right? And it was totally because, yeah, Standard Oil, exactly. So when Standard Oil got split up, it literally made, like, because it got split into multiple companies that got sold, he literally became the richest man in the world from that. So I know it's a bullish move. I don't know if that's what people are thinking. The only thing is China's involved in this, so I just don't fucking know. I don't trust it. But anyways, that's more of a gut feeling than anything. I'm looking at here. I'll share the screen with you guys since you might as well look, and then let's cut this so we can all get going. All right, so this is the Thinkorswim. So this is I'm looking at the standard deviation on the standard deviation channel, right? If you look at the daily, and I know this is a little bit different than what you're talking about, James, right? You're looking at the actual analysis of it. Is that what you were talking about? Or maybe he was talking about something else. I don't know.
No, I was looking at the 1 hour on Thinkorswim and all the standard deviations. Yeah, it was up to almost 4 on the 1 hour, but on the 15-minute chart.
1 hour, you're up to 4. See, are you talking about the standard deviation channel?
Yeah.
I have it at the mean, so I wonder what your look back is.
Oh.
Is your look back set? So when I do the 1 hour, it's the 90-day look back 1 hour candles.
Let me check that out.
Yeah, you want to make sure that's on, because if you do something like the 180, well, it's still pretty close. But yeah, you want to make sure that it shouldn't be 4 deviations on the 1 hour. That's like, I don't think it's ever gotten to that. I don't know. We can look at that later. I mean, it's what I use when I use the standard deviation channel, I check out I just use the standard presets on Thinkorswim. That's why I don't know, for some reason they work very well with Thinkorswim. That's why TradingView has such a hard time with standard deviation channels. But I mean, look, on the 4 hour, you're coming up to the half deviation up. I mean, you may get a pullback here. The 1 hour, I have it just over that mean reversion. That's why I was asking. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's something we can look at when we chat. James, we can always
yeah, let's do that, because I'm looking at favorites just like you are, but yeah, we'll do that later.
Okay, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it probably has a little bit of upside. I mean, it's down there on the week, so. All right, anyways, yeah, so I mean, I would just put your stop in the green, man. And I would say, this 4 hour, so looking at go back to this chart here. This 4 hour supply, dude, is what I would probably watch overall, right? You got to close inside. We're pushing up. Watch this hourly level. I posted the chart in the trade ideas. I believe that's the 1 hour, or no, that is the 4 hour chart. Yeah. So I tagged you in it in the Discord. So just check it out, because again, we did wick right up to this blue line. Keep in mind was the hourly support right before this gap down, this last like big gap down. Now that gap's been filled for what it's worth, but obviously it's it's a level that makes sense where we bounced and held, and then we gapped right through it, and that's really what set off this obviously the shitstorm that's been in. So I mean, it's not it doesn't mean it's not going to get through it, but just watch that, right? If it pumps through that, you're probably going to see like 102, and then you can kind of see what it does. I mean, if you want to trail it, I don't know how many shares you got, but I mean, if it's something that's, that's paying, go for it. If it becomes more of a hassle than it's worth, I would just cut it and lock it in. It really depends on what type of trade you want to take with it. But just be
I don't
careful
think
getting
it's
in the
good
habit
on
of taking like you don't want to take a day trade or a swing trade and be like, well, if it goes against me, I'm just going to keep it in my my retirement, because you want, again, there's better entries for retirement, right? Like the best entry for retirement was really down, low here. So when it dipped down, if you held this whole time down through here, like you should have been buying, more down here to average it, that sort of play. I mean, I just, you want to just be careful. Not that it can't work, we just want to be careful with it. So yeah, maybe it's going to rock it up. Who knows? Maybe we'll have Bob up at 150.
So
Fucking let's
you're
go.
saying in theory, I could be the richest man in the world because Rockefeller did it?
No, I'm saying Baba could be the richest man in the world. What's his name there? Fucking, isn't that Jack Ma or whatever? Or yeah, who owns Baba? Or I don't know who owns it now, but shit. Is it Jack
Well,
Ma?
thanks for going over that with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jack Ma.
Okay, that's it.
Guy
Yeah.
that really owns it.
Yeah, and who knows? It's probably a clone, and President Z over there is collecting it all. So who knows? No. Yeah, no problem, man. Happy to go over it. I know it's I wish I had better zones on it, but I do not at the moment. Although these, like I said, these are valid. This 100, 150 headed up. So let's take a look at the NASDAQ real quick, and then we're going to go, because this is the thing to keep in mind too. The reason I'm not super bullish on the ES, on S&P, is because this is still weak as fuck. So like we did pull back, right? We had this daily demand here. We wicked out of that beautifully today, bounced. I mean, we literally went down. We, almost pinpointed the support off by a couple points. It is inside of one of the white zones, so we just bounced off of that. But again, like, where is it going? I mean, it doesn't, you think, okay, maybe it's going to rally, but like this shit's just, it needs to get some steam going. And it broke down through the trend line today, like it broke the trend and dipped. So I'm just not as excited about it. I think that this could really keep some weakness, and that will keep ES down. So we'll watch, again, we have an hourly zone on this, right? And then a 15-minute up tighter towards the top. But, and this is on Qs too. So like if you look at QQQ, you're going to be able to see the same, general setup. So it's watch that hourly zone there as well. And I think if we did, if we start to get some capitulation to the downside, which I don't know, I'm becoming less and less. I almost feel like we need more of a rally first, but again, to where? And like, I'm not seeing the strength to get us there necessarily, but if we did drop down, I would watch, I don't know. I mean, I'd be looking as far as this daily. If we broke this zone, we're coming down to this one down here. So that's a pretty good drop, right? Like let's see what that is. If we broke even just from that daily zone down, I mean, you're talking, almost 5%. So, 5% move on the NASDAQ. So that's what I'm going to be watching, right? I want to see if this daily zone is going to break. Like I say, it's on QQQ too. Oops. So, right, that's this daily zone right here that we dipped out of. So again, if we break, what is that, 305, basically, what we were looking for today. Yeah, we were talking about that today. If we break 305, it's probably going to come down to, 294, something like that. More than possible. So I'll leave that at that. Tell you what, I will post this chart. It's a fucking mess, but I'll post it for you guys, for anybody that trades QQQ. If you're interested, I'm going to put it down in the chart section, or the TR charts and plays. All right, anything else, guys? If not, we'll cut it and go to bed.
Hey, what time are you typically, are you jumping into Discord first? Yeah, what Zoom, what time are you typically?
Well, we're
Get
not
going.
doing Zoom. We're not doing Zoom during the day at all. We're just doing it in Discord. So the Zoom's just for these classes, but during the day, we're just using the Discord, the trading pit. So I stream my charts there in the morning, and it really just depends on if it's going to depend on what the markets look like, right? Like I'll chat I'll let you all know what I'm thinking, but if the market just doesn't look great in the morning, instead of me hopping in and just sitting there chatting and like trying to find things to kill time and read price action, I'm just going to wait and then hop in when it looks good. You know what I mean? So, but Zoom, no more Zoom during the day. We've been using the trading pit for
Okay,
the
what time
daytime.
typically are you at least opening it up?
Oh, I put the charts in there at the same time, like 9 to 9:15, in
Okay,
the morning. I throw the charts in there, and I mean, look, most days I'll be in there, unless we're doing like a space. And then at that point, I'm still streaming into it, right? I'm still streaming voice into it. I'm just on Twitter, kind of like what we normally do. But yeah, no, it's more about what the market looks like. Like Monday, I looked at it. I had some shit I needed to do anyways, but honestly, it was great to just sit and watch and see what everything did on Monday, And then today, obviously, we did a space, but I was streaming through that the whole time, basically. I think the only thing that happened Monday, I realized, Tommy told me, is that the charts, I was gone away I wasn't at the house. Because I was running errands and shit. And the charts cut off after, I don't remember. I have to look at the text, but it was like, it may have been like 5 hours or 6 hours. So that's a little interesting. So there may be I may have to figure that out if I'm not going to be there at all. The charts, I may have to figure out how I can get it to not cut off anyways.
I'll
Like,
say
Yeah.
sorry. I
No,
was
go
gonna say,
ahead.
if James, if anything, just look on the bottom in the trading pit to see who's in there. Cause
Yeah,
there's
do you-
sometimes that he's not there, but Neo's in there with Spidey or us three, or, there's other people
Yeah.
that are in there. We're
Yeah, they're
chatting,
trading.
even if we're not necessarily trading, we're just chatting, seeing what we see kind of thing, or what we're potentially hoping for, or just, talking
Yeah,
other
yeah.
stuff kind of like
You guys
this, but
are-
we're doing it during the day. So even if he's not there, still come down to the trading pit. Cause yeah, like you said, we have his charts up there to see the zones. If you don't have them, your own, but you can always go in there and check it out too.
And you guys
See.
are trading. I mean, for
Yeah.
sure. Like you and Spidey were trading the other day. I know Neo hops
Yeah.
in there when he's around. And most of the days I'll still be there or we'll be on a space. But what I wanted to get away from was like feeling like I needed to be in there every morning. Because there are a lot of mornings where I look at it and I'm like, it just doesn't, I see plays, right? I can see shit pop up. What happens is that they're not higher quality plays. They're just, the direction isn't quite there yet. And we've seen, especially with as choppy as it's been, that really the mornings, like sometimes the mornings can be good, right? Like this morning was fine. There were trades, but I'll tell you what, like some of the, I don't know, what was it? Was that today where everything just dropped off a cliff right off the bat? Yeah, it had to be, because I wasn't around yesterday, I don't think. I don't know. Anyways, if you miss that morning trade, it's better to watch the range form and then come in and play the afternoon, especially with the 0 DTEs. I mean, or the short term in and out trades. It's much easier once we have the range form. So, but what I found is that we're just I'm either over trading or I'm taking trades that I don't like, or worse, it's not even so much that as it is, I end up talking about trades that you guys, like everybody that's listening, might take, and some people take them and it's like, they're just not the high quality setups and it's not helping anybody, So, I mean, I'm still going to be around majority of the time, but just not necessarily right in the morning. But what I am going to do is I will, I do post, I do tag everybody when I do go in or what I'm doing. And then if I'm not going to be in there in the morning, I will put out like a trade plan or whatever, or not even a trade plan, but just an idea of what I'm seeing. Because that, and really that would be better anyways, because there's a lot of folks who don't get in there. They don't step in until fucking, 10 o'clock, 10:15. So it's like not from
Guilty.
9 to from 9 to 9:30. It's like, that's why I started starting things at 9:15, because there's a lot of downtime, and it's like, you know, I got other shit I can do around the house doing this, and it's just the last thing I want to do is be like aggravated or burnt out by the time like the real good price action comes into play. That's what I, you know, and I think that goes for everybody. You don't want to be burned out. You know, we don't need to find trades necessarily when we have zones. We can wait for those fuckers to get hit. I'd much rather see us continue with that. So where am I at here? Oh, I know what I'm doing. So yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question, man? I'm not sure if that's what you're wondering in general, or just what time in the morning there, James?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious about, when people started showing up, not necessarily, just you, but yeah, so thanks for that. And thanks, Tommy.
Yeah, I think people are in, you know, I haven't seen anybody not in there right off the bat. So I think it's good. And like I say, most of the time I'll be in and out. So, and if not, I mean, Spidey doesn't get in there until later most days anyways, unless we know there's going to be a day that we want to trade. Because it's fucking early. I mean, you're the same way. You're on the east or the west coast. So, you know, 9:30 is 6:30. Which God bless you guys for it, you know. No.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, listen, take care, you guys. I'm gonna cut this. I'm going to bed. Everybody have a good
Thanks,
night.
Alex.
Yep.
You too have a good one.
Thank you. Have a good night,
Thanks so
guys.
much.
Take care,
Thank you.
guys. Yep.
Yeah.